Hello, fantastical people, and welcome to my fantasy museum. No, this is not entirely fantasy. This is within my supernatural museum because it kind of felt like it had the same vibe. But this is the entrance, which is very fantasy based. I love these tarot stands, they're just chef's kiss. But this is the entrance, kind of supposed to look like the entrance of a castle, if you will, with a little staff area behind it. This is all very much ghost and supernatural, but there are some fantasy items within this section, like the wardrobe and the carpet, but they're not incredibly pronounced. But if we do want to start at the purely fantasy, this is where it all begins. So once again, it's kind of supposed to look like a castle. The castle vibe is going to keep coming back. This is very much based around what it would probably look like within a museum. I'm not super happy with it yet, but it's a start. And I think it looks pretty fine so far. This is by no means my completed fantasy museum because there has been a lot of changes that I want to make. I just haven't had the time to do it. So here we come to another building, which is the more botany side of the fantasy exhibits. So we have our Ivy Prison, of course, as the front runner of this section, with another kind of castle-esque area. We have the cave right here, the chicken, which the chickens are spawning outside. We're just gonna ignore that. We have the trolls, which is my favorite exhibit from this DLC. Well, one of. We have the troll game because it felt very appropriate. And if you keep walking, you will come across a moat, so to speak, with a kraken in it, a mermaid, which are all very fantasy. You've all seen Pirates of the Caribbean, I'm sure. But this is supposed to be like a moat with the start of a castle, which will lead you into the throne room. Very Game of Thrones. Very Game of Thrones so far. And we also have the family tapestry, of course, on that side. Once you walk through the hallways of this castle, you will end up in the stables. I'm kind of using these fantasy, they kind of look like a hippogriff to me, kind of as horses. And then obviously we also have the dragon scales and this very, very large carriage. I think it's supposed to be kind of like a fire truck, and I figured that's probably where it would be. But then when you turn right, you have the dungeons. Starting off with the dungeon crawler, of course, and also a fake prison where our little trio of cavalry is. I thought this looked really cool. Personally, I thought it was pretty neat. Then here we have the fight scene as well. These flags kind of reminded me of a fight club. So this is kind of the part where it's supposed to be kind of like a fight club slash a gladiator arena, I guess is where the inspiration came from. So that is what we have here in the dungeons. But if you go outside, you also have the wizard room. I have not finished completing all of the D20s, as you can see. I'm still missing a couple colors, but they just don't want to spawn for me. So I'm still waiting on those. Together with this very, very large aquarium for our new friends. And of course, the ghost plant. If we go to this building, we have our sad but very appropriate section for our fantasy members that have passed, unfortunately. They're missing in action. We don't know where they are. Probably swallowed by a kraken. But sadly, they're both there. And then we head into the dwarven area. So this is the first hallway with all the gems. Everything you've seen so far has been pristine quality. And let me tell you, it took a while. Which leads into the first big dragon. This really gave me Smaug vibes, so that's kind of the goal that I went with. I really need to finish the floor of this. Unfortunately, this is not entirely done yet, but we have a lot of gold. We have the walls, and a fire-breathing dragon, of course, with the sections as well. Then we have Miss Baby Dragon chilling and guarding the crown, of course, because who doesn't want to keep the crown of Gondor nearby? And of course we have our dwarven apparatuses. I didn't really know a good way to display these, so this is pretty much the best that I could think of. But like I said, none of this is like permanent. This is version 2. Version 3 is gonna be even better, but I just haven't had the time to work on it yet. But this is what I have for my fantasy museum section. Everything else is very supernatural, very ghost. We have the store as well, which has fantasy and supernatural. But then our cafe is very fantasy inspired. So it's kind of just a mix of both. We have all of the ghost rooms. I finally achieved all the plight-headedness, so we're finally there. But I'm still working on collecting all the ghosts, so there's still gonna be a couple empty rooms, but I am working on it. But that's pretty much all that I have for you today. Thank you so much.